Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Panthers beat the Saints 26-7. It was the lowest offensive output of the Sean Payton era. The New Orleans Saints put up just 128 yards of total offense for just the second time in the Sean Payton era. New Orleans was held scoreless through three quarters. The last time that happened was week 17 of the 2018 season against the Carolina Panthers. Just a coincidence there. It was bad in every way that it could possibly be bad, from Carolina opening the game and summarily marching right down the Saints' throat in just a handful of plays to score their first touchdown. 5 plays, 75 yards, needing just 3 minutes, to the Saints' hideous 3-and-out to start the game, and you knew what was coming. Jameis's interception at the end of the first half, falling backwards, costing the Saints an opportunity at points. Part of me wants to give the defense credit for hanging in there as best they could, shorthanded and on the field essentially for the entirety of the game. The yardstick tells the story. Carolina possessed the ball for nearly 40 minutes of the game. The Saints just 21-28. 11 penalties for New Orleans. The 2 turnovers, both interceptions by Jameis. It was bad in every way that it could be bad. Yes, I picked Carolina to win the game. I did not expect it to be as awful as it was. Now, afterwards, Sean Payton accepted all the blame and was not displacing blame on the circumstance.
It's a disappointing loss. Give Carolina credit. You know, we did a number of things, and things that you just can't do to win a game. Offensively, particularly, it's as poor as we've been in a long time around here, and that starts with me. We've got to do a better job going in. Our protection plan wasn't very good. It had nothing to do with us being shorthanded with coaches or us being away or the COVID. All of those would be excuses. They played better than us today and deserved to win the football game.
Nobody will cry for any team in the NFL. Everybody that's on the field is a professional. It's not like a situation in college football where you have the roster you have. If you don't like what you have, go get more pieces, whatever the case may be. I could probably agree with Sean Payton that it's not about the coaches having COVID. Look, Jameis Winston was asked after the game, Did missing the coaches have an impact on this game?
None at all. We just have to push forward, man. Put this one behind us, build on the positives and eliminate the negatives, and come back next week ready to fight and compete.
Ian Book was handling substitutions for the New Orleans Saints. Yes, of course your operations changed. The margin in the NFL is so small. I mean, what's the average margin? 3 to 4 points? I mean, it's less than a touchdown. Look at the Thursday night game with the Giants and Washington football team. Look how razor thin that game. Look at last night with the Chiefs and the Ravens. I mean, God, I hated to see Clyde fumble, but look, I mean, right there, it came down to Baltimore knowing if we give them the ball with a minute left, they're going to come down and win the game. So they had to go for it on a 4th and 1 to get it to seal the game. The margin in the NFL is so small. In a vacuum, just removing a coach may not do it. But removing 8 coaches in a week where, like we talked about, you have this natural letdown after the huge emotional win, where you've been displaced for a month because of a hurricane, and then you throw on top of it, even more consequential, all of the players that you are missing. Did you watch the game on Fox? Did you see the graphic Fox put up in the first quarter with the 10, count them, 10 starting players that were not available for New Orleans? Now, some of them have not been available all year, like Michael Thomas and Will Lutz and Tre'Quan Smith, and we knew that. But 5 players that started for you a week ago against Green Bay were not available this week, including your all-pro cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, including your Pro Bowl caliber nickel safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, including your elite will linebacker in Quan Alexander. You don't think Quan Alexander's absence mattered? The second play of the game, they throw a shallow cross to Christian McCaffrey, who burns Zach Bond and goes for 32 yards. Don't tell me Quan Alexander not being out there didn't matter. Of course it did. From the second snap of the game. Of course Marshawn Lattimore not being out there mattered. Of course C.J. Gardner-Johnson not being out there mattered. You don't think Eric McCoy mattered? Y'all can laugh. A lot of people said, hey, Matt, I hear you talk about that Mike D, Buddy DiLiberto anecdote about the center not being there and the team failing to cover 80% of the time the week after the center's out. Like, you can laugh about it. Mike D texted me last night laughing his ass off about how much money he's cashed with that angle over the years. It's true. Jameis Winston was harassed the entire game. Have you seen by now the ESPN Stats and Info number? The ESPN Stats and Info looked at the amount of pressure Jameis Winston had. He was pressured on 18 of his 28 dropbacks. That's 64%. That's the third highest pressure rate for any defense since ESPN began tracking that in 2009. Jameis Winston against Carolina was pressured the third most of any quarterback since 2009. Y'all, it was awful. They blew up the launch pad. Eric McCoy wasn't there. It has a trickle-down effect. You move Ruiz over. You've weakened 2 spots on the interior. They got to push. And it wasn't just that. Early in the game, here comes Hassan Reddick off the edge. Adam Troutman trying to make a kick-out block. He took a bad angle. Reddick went right around him, sacks Jameis Winston. The 2 interceptions, Jameis under pressure. Like, I'm not saying that's on Jameis. That's not on Jameis. Like, you got to eat the ball, man. You can't just, especially the one at the end of the first half. Because as out of hand as the game was, after the Saints scored to make it 17-7, had you been able to get a field goal at the end of the first half, you're in a one-possession ball game. As improbable as it is, you'd have been in a one-possession ball game. But neither here nor there. You can't run a preseason roster out in an NFL game and expect to win or be competitive. Like, one of the things we've learned here early on is that Marquez Callaway is not a number 1. And that's okay. That's not to say he's not a Sunday player. He is. But how much better is Marquez Callaway when Mike Thomas is on the other side? When everyone in the stadium knows you're throwing it to 13, he still makes the catch. That's a number 1 NFL receiver. Saints don't have that right now. How much better is the Saints defense with Marcus Davenport out there and rotating in Payton Turner? How much better is the Saints defense with Quan Alexander instead of Zach Bond? How much better is the Saints defense when C.J. Gardner-Johnson is your nickel safety instead of P.J. Williams? Y'all, think about what we're talking about here. It's not a giant surprise that the Saints lost this ballgame. I thought they'd be more competitive than they were. But I picked Carolina for a reason. The same way that we didn't need to overreact by the Green Bay win, though, we also shouldn't overreact to this loss. I still stand firm right now today where I've been all offseason with this team. They got to get to their bye above 500. You've got to get to that bye in week 6 at 3-2, which means you're 1-1 right now. Can you go 2-1 in your next 3? I'm going to assume the Saints are going to win in the Dome against the Giants in 2 weeks. The Giants are not a good football team. That'll be sort of a Dome coming part 2. It'll be super emotional. I think the Saints are going to win that, which means can you find a way to win at either New England or Washington? If you can do that, you're at 3-2 going into your bye. By that point, you should be rounding into form again. After your open date, you should get Mike Thomas back. By then, you should have Will Lutz back. These guys that are on IR, that you can have unlimited return after 3 weeks on IR, you should be getting these guys back. Maybe you have Quan back. Maybe by then you have Davenport back. You should have McCoy back. Let's see how all of that goes as they get healthier. And you'll get Onyemata back after the Seattle game. Your roster is going to continue to improve as you get healthy and as you get these guys back from Mike Thomas on PUP and these guys from IR. But when you get them back, you have to be still in a position to be able to make a run. You can't be so far behind the 8 ball like we saw the Saints do so many times when they'd start 0-3 and they make this incredible push to try to get to 500, but they gas themselves doing it and they fade down the stretch. You got to have yourself in position to make a move in the second half of the season. They can do it, regardless of what happened yesterday. But you got to keep yourself in it. That means finding a way to win 2 of the next 3. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.